And we are live. Sunday Service, episode 4. We got a UFC card. O's picking up the win. We got a couple other fights we can touch on. Payton Talbott looking like the second coming of Sean O'Malley out there. And then a couple nice performances on the prelims, lower on the main card. We're going to touch on Sanko commentary. There's some controversy. Some people don't like her. We're going to touch on that, give my opinions on it, and then we're going to end with Ian Garry's wife talking for him. Got to talk about that because that's on a week where it's the Apex card. We got to touch on some other stuff, some more big name stuff. How are we doing today, fellas? I should say. All right. How's that? How's that better? Now we can you hear me now? Wait to get confirmation before we go ahead. Good? We're good. Thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me now. How we doing, fellas? There we go. We're good. Sunday Service, episode 4. We're looking at the UFC card last night. The dude getting bit. Got to talk about that. Obviously, cover the main event. And then we'll cover the other fights. Payton Talbott looking like a beast. We're going to touch on the Sanko commentary. There was one very outstanding opinion on Sanko's commentary that we're going to touch on. I'll give you my opinion on it. How we doing, fellas? Joining up live in the IG chat. We're here on the Homo Fight YouTube channel as well. Drop a subscription to support. We're here every Sunday, recapping the card, talking everything MMA. At the end of the show, we're going to talk about Ian Garry's wife making the response video, basically talking for him. I'll give you my opinion on that at the end of the show. First of all, we got to talk. Before we even get into the recap of UFC Vegas 89, we got to talk about my guy Igor Severino literally biting a guy and losing and then getting cut. So the fight's happening, right? The fight's happening. It was supposed to be an insane fight. 2 undefeated guys, 2 young guys, flyweight division, super exciting. It was very exciting first round. We get into round 2. I would argue to say that Lima's probably winning the fight. Definitely doing the more damage on the feet. Severino's getting the takedowns. They're in the clinch. And then Lima's protesting something. And I'm trying to figure out what he's protesting. To me, it looked like maybe he was grabbing his shorts or something. They separate. And Lima says he gets bit. And I'm like, what the hell? He's protesting a bite? Like, we're stopping this fight to protest a bite? Like, what is going on here? He shows the ref, Chris Tione. Chris Tione calls in the doc. The doc looks at it. He's like, holy shit. This is before we even saw it. He's like, holy shit, that's pretty deep. They check the replay. The replay shows that Severino's in the position to where he could have bit him. And then Tione's like, yeah, DQ. Fights off, DQ. And at this point, we haven't seen the bite yet. So I'm like, what? They're calling it out for like a little nibble or something? Like maybe he got his teeth caught in there or something. Kind of lame. Like, why are you calling this off? Maybe just take a point or whatever. But no. This dude Severino was starving out there. He was trying to take a piece out of Andre Lima. Why? I have no idea. And the fact that he denied it. Chris Tione went over to Igor Severino and said, "You bit him." And he goes, "No, I didn't." And there's just a huge ass bite mark in Andre Lima's arm. Like it looked like if he didn't have a mouthpiece in, he probably could have like legit taken a chunk out. And the fact that he got that deep into a bite on Lima with a mouthpiece in is disgusting. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Why is he trying to take a chunk out of a guy in a fight that was relatively close? Like, what is his angle here? Is he that hungry? Are the UFC not paying their fighters enough that he was that hungry to take a bite out of Andre Lima? Or what is going on? So he wins by DQ, rightfully so, because I don't think you have any other option but to DQ the guy for taking that big of a bite on a guy. You got to DQ him. Lima gets the win, which cashed my bet. So, I mean, I wasn't too upset about it. And then I guess they give him the bite of the night bonus or the I got effing bit bonus. Crazy stuff. And then hours later, we see that Andre Lima gets a tattoo of the bite. And in words says, I got effing bit bonus. That is just gangster. That's gangster, bro. That is insane. That is insane. I got bit bonus. Get it tat on it. I mean, shit, he got a bonus. So he's got the money to go get it tatted. The fact that he did it right after is pretty sick. I'm not going to lie. That is pretty sick. What did y'all think about it? Because, like, bro, like, what is he doing? He gets cut. He's 20 years old. He's undefeated in a division, the flyweight division, that needs, like, young talent. First fight in the UFC, he bites someone, loses his undefeated record, and then gets cut. I don't know. I mean, it's not like, if you get cut from the UFC for that, are they ever going to let you back? Probably not. Probably not. Unless it gets really bad. Must have been tender AF and still got it tatted. Yeah. Yeah, that probably hurt. They definitely washed it because you get a tattoo, they rub that alcohol pretty deep in there. But ugh. He was a good prospect. He just ruined it. He screwed himself, bro. Like, just take the loss. He wasn't even losing that bad. Like, it was a pretty close fight. He screwed himself royally effed himself right there. Just biting a dude. Like, when have we ever seen this before? I think I saw some comment that we saw it on The Ultimate Fighter like a long time ago. I tried to find it. I didn't look too deep, but I couldn't find it. But that deep? That deep? That's disgusting. Disgusting. Props to Lima, though. He handled it well. He handled it really well. Like, he pointed it out. He wasn't, like, pissed about it. He's like, all right, I'll take my win. I'll go get a freaking tattoo. I'll get my got bit bonus, and I'll move on. Stays undefeated. Beast. Absolute beast. Let's talk about the main event. So we had to start with the bite, of course. It's probably the biggest headline of the card, which is crazy. Let's talk about the main event. Rose wins. She didn't look that good to me. Left a little bit to be desired. I know she's a very calculated fighter, and she fought pretty calculated. She looked to be the more accurate fighter. She tried to have the bigger moments. And the first two rounds were pretty close. I'd probably give them to Rose just because she was catching her a little bit cleaner. And Ribas's grappling wasn't super effective, and she would reverse position a lot and end up on top for a couple minutes. So I give the first two rounds to Rose. Round 3, I think, goes to Ribas. She landed to some good ground and pound when she got Rose to the ground. Round 4, probably a Rose round. Another close one. And then round 5, I thought Rose just completely took it off. She was on the back foot the entire time. Would land here and there, but Ribas was the one walking her down, being more active. Granted, she was kind of throwing at air for a lot of the time. And I don't think she landed anything super clean. But it looked to me like Rose took the round off. So I thought it, at worst, I don't want to say at worst. I thought it was probably 48-47 to Rose. And then they come out with a 49. Two of the judges had 49-46 for Rose. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, that seems pretty generous. Seems pretty generous. But either way, I thought Rose won the fight. And I guess that begs the question, like, how far is she going to go in this division at 125? Like, she won the fight, but Amanda Ribas is ranked number 8. I think she barely squeaked by. And I wouldn't say she has no real finishing upside at 125. I don't think she's hitting these girls and it's not really affected them. And Amanda Ribas is a chinny fighter. Anything she threw at Amanda Ribas, she just ate it like pretty cleanly. And on the ground, it's going to be tough for grappling these bigger girls on the ground. And Rose got taken down 4 times. It's not going to do too well. For next matchup what do you guys think? What do you think a good matchup for Rose moving forward would be? I think maybe a Macy Barber. I guess maybe you could give her... I don't know. Like, do you put her into a title fight? Like, what's next for her? Let's try to get these. I'm going to move these. Get these comments on the YouTube. There we go. There's Dixon Cider. Dixon Space Cider. He's always in the chat. Shout out to him. And on IG, Rose versus Blanchfield. If she loses, maybe I could see that. But the question is Blanchfield going to lose? That's next week's card. That's a good matchup, Blanchfield versus Manon Fiorot. If Fiorot does beat Blanchfield, I think Blanchfield versus Rose would be a good matchup. I would love to see that. Right now, I would probably say it's Rose versus Macy Barber. Like, you have Grasso and Shevchenko going at it for the title eventually because they're the Ultimate Fighter coaches. So there's that matchup. You got Manon versus Blanchfield next week. Whoever wins that's probably going to get the title shot after. Then there's Macy Barber. Like, where does Macy Barber fall into this? I guess you could match her up with Rose, and then that's like another contenders fight or whatever. I mean, the flyweight division is pretty stacked. It is pretty stacked. What up, Mr. Cortez? Thanks for joining. Thanks for the support. Justin versus Max. Who and how? Off topic, but that is a very close one. Let's talk about it real quick because I mean, Apex card isn't anything crazy. I get in this question a lot, and there is some like rumors going around that they're gonna cancel Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. Not gonna happen. They've already made tons of promotions for this fight. If you watch the card on Saturday, there was a huge promotion on Gaethje versus Holloway. They're going to keep it on the card at UFC 300. Now, that's a fight that doesn't really make sense for either of them. Gaethje could have a title shot if he's not in this fight. Holloway could have a title shot if he's not in this fight. So both guys are taking this fight instead of a title fight. At the time they took the fight, they didn't know it. But both guys, if they win, they probably get the next title shot. Undoubtedly, they should get the next title shot, whoever wins, in their respectable divisions. Now, Max versus Gaethje is interesting because we saw Max fight Poirier at 155. You could tell the power, there was a difference in power. And I wonder if going up against Gaethje, it's going to be any different. But then you also got to factor in Gaethje is hittable. Max is hittable, but he has a great chin. If Max can pour it on him from the jump, continue to pour it on him, he has a great chance. And it's not like the skill gap is going to be, it's not going to be wide. Like Max Holloway is going to be able to stand and strike with Justin Gaethje. It's just the matter of, is Gaethje's punches going to be a little bit more impactful than Holloway's, just like the Poirier fight? I would probably say yes, but that doesn't mean he's going to lose. Like Max Holloway could still put up 20 more significant strikes every single round against Gaethje and win the rounds. That's what it comes down to. Now, the one thing that I'm scared of for Max is Gaethje's leg kicks. Like, he's gonna take those early. He's gonna have to be sharp in his leg kick defense. He's gonna have to be sharp in his movement, and he's gonna have to find ways to land at kicking range. Like, he's gonna have to be able to mix in his kicks as well. Like, Gaethje's going to mix in his kicks. Holloway's got to give him something, or at least have some amazing leg kick defense. He's gonna have to have that. Right now, I'm leaning Gaethje to win. I haven't looked at the line recently because I haven't really thought about that. It's like 3 weeks away or 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away. But yeah, right now I'd probably lean Gaethje to take it. And yeah, the biggest thing for Max is like he's never been knocked out. So I mean, you'd probably know he's going to be there for 5 rounds. I don't think Justin is going to KO Max. Justin is not Ngannou. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, nobody's KO'd Max, so it's hard to say that Gaethje would be the first guy to do so. But he does hit like a truck. Let's go back to the Apex card co-main event. Kind of a snoozer. I'm just going to say it. The Tafas are overrated. Like, the Tafa bros, I see this every week. Whenever there's a Tafa fighting, it's like, Tafa gang, Tafa gang. But it's like, bro, they really only beat, like, the shitty heavyweights. And if they're going up against a guy that has any sort of wrestling, they're probably going to beat him. Because they can't get up off their back. They can't really stuff takedowns. And if you stand and strike with them, yeah, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But when you get up to, or when you go up against heavyweights that have other options than just standing and striking with you, they're going to beat them. Carl Williams did that. Now, I will say, Carl Williams has some very poor fight IQ. Because I don't know what was in his brain to be like, let me stand and strike with Tafa, get rocked, and once I'm rocked, once I'm almost knocked out, then I'll shoot for a takedown. Stupid. He could have just went out there and shot or picked a single leg from the beginning of the round almost every time. But he waited until he was like damn near unconscious to try to start shooting takedowns, and then he just, rinse and repeat after that. Clear decision win for Carl Williams. It really helped that he was able to land some ground and pound on the ground, because if he gets the takedowns, does nothing with it, and Tafa damn near KOs him like every round, they could give that fight to Tafa. Unbelievably that it could happen that way, but they judge it off of damage, and if you get a guy to the ground, hold him there for 3 minutes, don't do anything with it, and Tafa's hitting you with these big shots on the feet, they might give it to Tafa. Dixon Cider. Carl Williams is literally a white belt. Don't ever bet this dude by sub again. Or KO either. I didn't. I didn't bet him by sub. I bet him by KO or decision. And the decision cashed. He's going to destroy his legs like the Yair fight. Talking about Gaethje versus Holloway. Justin is going to be the first guy to KO Max. Black to M3. It says Justin's going to be the first guy to KO Max. It's wild. I would love to see what that KO number is. I wonder if it's going to be juicy enough or not. Going to destroy the legs like the Yair fight. If you're talking Yair against Max, that was a banger. But, I mean, Max still clearly won. Max is gone, bro. Whew. A lot of people on Gaethje. But you don't want to doubt the blessed. The best is still blessed. Max Holloway. Shabazian getting the win against AJ Dobson. I mean, just vintage Shabazian right there. First round finish. He's going to be most dangerous in that first round. Got rocked, but still battled back and got the first round finish. Still time to rebuild for him. He's 26? Got a lot of UFC experience, like a lot of high-level experience. He's only 26. I would assume they need to continue to rebuild him. He needs to take some more favorable matchups moving forward, because you can't throw him against the Anthony Hernandezes of the world or the Jack Hermansons of the world right after beating AJ Dobson. Like, he got rocked by AJ Dobson. Let's be real here. He needs some matchups that are favorable for him to continue the win streak, continue to be getting better. He's only 26. He needs to continue that way. I think Max is amazing, but his chin can't take trick shots. I mean, if Gaethje catches him with a head kick like he did against Poirier, he's probably going out. Like, I don't know how anybody could not go out from that head kick. Hit him like behind the ear. Like, there's not much you can do when you get hit with a kick behind the ear. You're going down. So if he does that, then yeah, Max is getting KO'd. Brings us to the people's main event. Payton Talbott versus Cameron Simon. Unbelievable stuff from Payton Talbott. Now, I thought going into that fight, Payton Talbott was going to win. And I thought his shots would just be a little bit more impactful. I thought it would be a 3-round war. I thought Cameron Simon would have his moments, but Payton Talbott would be able to battle through it because he's so composed and he believes in himself. And I just thought overall Payton Talbott was going to be the better fighter, probably win by decision. Did not expect Payton Talbott to go out there and dismantle Cameron Simon. Cameron Simon's a legit prospect. Like a guy that a lot of people believe in. I still believe in him. But Payton Talbott dismantled him from the jump. Payton Talbott's known as like a slower starter, but he comes out there, lands a massive body kick to start. Lands some really nice shots, really clean shots. The accuracy on his shots were the most impressive. His ability to just walk you down and find openings, step back, left hook, it's beautiful. And the pressure he puts on you, it's like you don't have anywhere to go. He's 5'10", 135 pounds, well, probably 155 pounds when he fights. 5'10", 155 pounds or more when he fights. He's walking you down. The length he has, you don't have anywhere to go. Like, you got to stand there and strike with him, or you got to shoot a takedown. And the only way I think you could beat Payton Talbott, if you're talking about these guys that are outside of the rankings, is you're gonna have to grapple him up. Like, you don't want to stand and strike with him. He's too accurate. He's too powerful. He's too durable. The way he could take a shot, not even flinch. Like, Cameron Simon was hitting him with some decent shots. Like, he landed a couple like a spinning back kick right to the gut. Payton Talbott pretty much laughed it off. Simon was swinging hard. Talbott was like, I don't give a kick. Don't fucking care, dude. Like, I'm here to fucking knock you out. Dismantles him in the first round, comes out in round 2. And you could tell, if you watch back the tape, he knew that left hook was going to be there all night. Because Cameron Simon loves to come in with that lunging 1-2, kind of like Drickus does. They must teach it at the camp or something. But the lunging 1-2, and when he switches from that 1-2, chin's wide open. Payton Talbott sat on it a couple of times. He sat him down with that in the first round, went for it again later in the first round, and then round 2, Simon comes out with the lunging 1-2, catches him clean with the left hook, sits him down, ground and pound, fouls it up. Thing of beauty. Absolute thing of beauty. It's a tough fight style. Like, he's going to be a problem for a lot of guys. If you don't have really solid wrestling, really solid cardio, really solid grappling, you're going to be in some big trouble because you're going to be forced to stand with him, and that ain't going to work out well for you. Now, the next matchup for him, I think for Payton Talbott, I don't think you want to give him like a ranked guy right away. Now, this was a big step up from Nick Garry to Cameron Simon. I think you give him someone probably like ranked top 25, top 30, maybe a guy coming off a loss, but is still, like a vet that people can respect. Like, you beat this guy, like, yeah, that's a pretty solid win. So personally, I think you still want to give him somewhat of a favorable matchup because this is a guy you want to build. And if you look at the UFC and the matchups that they give guys that they want to build, they're usually pretty favorable. So I would probably say you give him a guy like Davy Grant. Now, Davy Grant can grapple, but doesn't really use it. Davy Grant's mainly a striker. He wants to stand and strike with you. He's a little bit older. He's coming off a loss, which I don't think it was really a loss to Daniel Marcos. I thought he beat Daniel Marcos. So he's not coming off a bad loss. Davy Grant, I think he's 36, somewhere around there. So he's a little bit older. I think it's a favorable matchup for Payton Talbott, but it's still a matchup that's like, okay, this guy's been around for a while. He's fought guys like Chito Vera. He's fought guys that are at the top. Solid guy. You give Payton Talbott versus Davy Grant, I think it's a good fight for him. If he beats Davy Grant in the same fashion, then it's like, okay, you could probably give him a guy top 15. Because Cameron Simon's good, but he's still young in his career. Maybe not the most experienced as far as fight IQ goes. Maybe not the most matured as far as physicality goes. You give him a guy like Davy Grant, I think that's a good test for him. What do you guys think? Chris Gutierrez would be a good matchup for Payton Talbott. Hill Muck says that's not terrible. I actually wouldn't mind that. Another striker, another really good striker. And I wouldn't mind that matchup. That's actually pretty solid. I don't know if Gutierrez is ranked. I think he is. I think he's like 13 or 14, maybe after Davy Grant. The thing is, he's 25. Payton Talbott's 25. You don't need to rush him to the rankings. I think if you give him a guy on the level of a Davy Grant in the summer, say like June or July, then he fights then. If he wins, you give him a ranked guy towards the end of the year. Because this is his first fight of 2024. I don't mind Desmond Kaiser. I don't mind Talbot versus Marcos, Daniel Marcos. That's not bad either. Another undefeated guy. I think that would be a good matchup. The only question is, does the UFC want to blow Daniel Marcos' undefeated record against a guy like Payton Talbot? They didn't necessarily do it. They did prospect versus prospect with Talbot versus Simon. And now they're like, okay, Talbot's the prospect we need to push. Do we want to push him against another guy that's undefeated in Daniel Marcos? Maybe not. That's kind of why I'm thinking Davy Grant. Victor Henry, maybe. Victor Henry might be a decent matchup. Experienced guy, older guy, durable guy. That would be a good matchup too. I kind of like that. That's a good option there from Desmond Kaiser. Yeah, I don't think Marcos' stock is that high either, but he's Peruvian. It's a different market. He's undefeated. It's not like he's going to be a massive star, I don't think, but he's a solid fighter. They might want to keep that 15-0, keep that out there. All right, enough of Payton Talbot. We can move down the card. Yusuf Zalal coming back to the UFC. Second stint, gets a win over Billy Q. I don't know what Billy Q was doing. And maybe I'm on an island here. You guys let me know in the chat. But I was watching that fight. I'm like, does Billy Q even want to be there? Like what is he doing? He looked slow. He looked like he didn't even want to engage. Like, I know he's normally a plotting guy, but he's a pressure fighter. Shoots a lot of takedowns. Wants to get in your face. Wants to make it dirty. He was just kind of standing there, letting Zalal do whatever he wanted to. And you got to give credit to Zalal. Like, his movement is really tough to track. But he was hitting these, like, trips. He hit the trip, like, twice. He just steps behind him and pushes him down. Like, that seems kind of lazy on the Billy Q side. Like, how are you getting trip takedown? I could understand maybe once, but twice? Like, what are we talking about here? And on the ground, it was like Billy Q had never been submitted. Then you get submitted by Yusuf Zalal. I don't know how many submissions Zalal has in his career, but he's not like some potent grappler. And Billy Q was freaking, he looked terrible. Tix Insider, Billy Q is the OnlyFans fade. Shit, man. He might have screwed himself with that, because the OnlyFans fade is real. Not gonna lie. It is real. He repped Tampa and folded. I mean, he's 35. I guess this could be like the beginning of the end for him. Like, Zalal's a solid fighter. I'm not trying to take anything away from Zalal. Solid fighter, but it looked to me like Billy Q had nothing left in the tank. Looked like he didn't even want to be there. Yeah, he's probably on a downward spiral. I agree with you. Desmond Kaiser taking a lot of damage over his career. The age is catching up to him. He looks slow in there. And moving forward, it's like, yeah, it's probably going to be a downhill for Billy Q at this point. Yeah, in Ramadan, short notice, and still beat Billy Q. Shout out to Yusuf Zalal. Comes back, definitely UFC caliber. And he proved it. Because Billy Q, I think, was top 25 in the featherweight, like, worldwide rankings. And Zalal on short notice, not even in the UFC at that point, comes in and beats him. Impressive. Move down the card. Fernando Padilla, round 1 sub. Shout out to the boy Nolan in the Home of Fight Picks Discord, calling out Fernando Padilla by sub +6 hundo. I saw that number early in the week, and I'm like, it looks good. Didn't play it. I was pissed. I was so pissed. What up, C. Will? You the man. Might not always take your picks, but you're a G. I appreciate that, brother. You don't always got to take my picks, brother. No worries. It's your money, man. It's your money. You do whatever you want with your picks, if you want to tail mine or not. But last week, we had a good week. We had a real good week. Up 8 units, over 8 units. Hit some great props. Arosa sub. Gave that out for free. Shout out to y'all on the IG, because a lot of people tailed that. Glad to see that one go through. Shout out to Juicy J for getting that one done. And I guess we could talk about that, because that's the next up. We're not even going to talk about Trey Ogden versus Kurt Holobaugh, because that was a pretty boring fight. But the man Juicy J, everything about that was just perfect. So I put the video out on all the medias, on Instagram specifically. Put Juicy J, Julian Erosa, buy sub, +550. Now, I actually got it at +575, but it got down to +550 when I made the video. He comments out of nowhere. I don't even know. I think Julian Erosa follows me. He might. I don't know. Or maybe he was just searching his name. Julian Erosa comments, sprinkle away. I don't know. I don't have it up in front of me. I think he said sprinkle away, fellas, with the fire emoji. And I'm like, yo, this is the night before the fight. Julian Erosa is on Instagram telling us to sprinkle on him by sub. I'm like, this shit's hitting. And the fight starts. Ricardo Hamas cracks him across the chin. And if we know Julian Erosa, we know the chin doesn't always hold up. Goes for a takedown. Erosa, you could tell Erosa's like trying to get some kind of guillotine in, but it's not there whatsoever. Takes him down. Erosa gets back up. They go at it again. Ramos shoots another takedown. Like the lowest fight IQ I've ever seen from Ricardo Ramos. Like he could stand and strike with Julian Erosa and probably knock him out. Sorry, Juicy, but that's probably the facts at this point. Shoots the takedown, goes right into the guillotine. Juicy J locks it up. And then Ricardo Ramos taps. And it was just perfect. Because I knew it was like, if Ramos shoots a takedown, Erosa's going to be ready for that sub. Because he's waiting for it. And he did it. He pulled it off. Julian Erosa by sub. Cashes for the boys. And after the fight, Julian Erosa's coach, Eric Nixick, DMs me. He's like, great call. We've been working on that all camp. We knew it was going to be there. Juicy is such a hard worker. He's always in the gym. He was ready for it, and he got it done. Eric Nixick coming in the DMs of your boy, congratulating. I had to hit him with a congratulations back, of course. Juicy J is the one that actually got it done. It's not my call. If I make that call, he goes out there and doesn't do it. It's not his fault. It's my fault for making the call. We made the call. He got it done. Shout out to Juicy J. Cashing it for the boys. +550. Can we hit another one next week? Stay tuned to the page to find out at HI Picks. I'll definitely give out a prop for next week's card, plus money prop, because we've been smacking them. And we hope to continue that trend. Down the card, don't got to go over like anything too big here. Miles Johns wins over Cody Gibson. That was free money. Jarno Aaron's big, or the second underdog upset. There's only 2 dogs that came through on this card. Jarno Aaron's being one of them. Pretty clearly won every round there. Women's fight that was boring as hell. the bite that we already talked about, and then the fat heavyweights. What? I don't want to say fat. The low level heavyweights in the curtain jerker. McParkin win over Muhammad Usman. We don't really need to talk about that one. That was pretty boring. But like McParkin never really impresses, but he's undefeated in the UFC, which is crazy. And Muhammad Usman really ain't that good. So yeah, that's pretty much the recap of UFC Vegas 89. I mean, we got a couple more things to talk about, but I'll open it up for the comments if you got any questions before we jump into Laura Sanko's commentary. Because there was a man that had some interesting stuff to say about Laura Sanko's commentary. And I've heard this before. This isn't like the first time this is coming up. Oil up, bud. Oil me up. I dare you. I dare you. See if we can pull these up. Bunch of ads popping up, of course. Of course. Man, y'all really want to talk about the Gaethje versus Holloway. Does Holloway get finished? I would probably say no. For me to predict Max Holloway get finished when he's never been knocked out, that would be pretty bold. I don't think he does. I don't think he gets finished. What do you think about McNuggets versus Chandler? I guess it's supposed to be happening in June. We still have no confirmation from Dana White or the UFC. I don't know. I mean, we've been talking about this for like over a year. Like, is it going to happen? Is Conor McGregor going to return and fight Michael Chandler? I don't know. I would probably say eventually, but doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. Holloway wins via TKO fourth round. I do think he will have the advantage later in the fight. It's just what Max Holloway does. Loves to pick it up later in the fight. Loves to put that boxing to use later in the fight when your movement isn't as good, when he can weaponize his cardio and steal those later rounds, maybe find a late finish. I don't know, though. Blanchfield dub next week. I'm very torn on that one. Very torn. But I will be breaking down the entire card with my boy Nolan here on the Home of Fight YouTube channel. We record that tomorrow night. It comes out on Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. I need to look at some more film. Was watching some earlier this morning, but I'm not sure. I think Fioreau at plus money is looking pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. But I'm not sure yet. No bets on that one at this point. At the moment, kind of leaning Fioreau. Kind of leaning her. Because Blanchfield couldn't get a takedown her last fight. It's not going to bode well against Fioreau. What about the bite, though? We already talked about the bite at the beginning of the show. You can rewind this if you're watching on YouTube, or you can watch it back later. But we went over that. Crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. Crazy shit. Let's talk about Laura Sanko's commentary. All right, so there's this guy named Jamie Varner, ex-fighter. Been involved, it says he's been involved in mixed martial arts competition for over a decade now. And he found himself in a social media fight. Really going in on Laura Sanko's commentary. Just roasted her. And basically saying that like she's never fought. She doesn't know what it's like to be in a fight. She's never been at this level of the UFC. She doesn't have any bonuses. She doesn't have any titles, defenses, or titles or whatever. Like, she doesn't have any UFC experience. Sure, that's fair. I get it. Because you have guys like a Paul Felder or a Dominic Cruz or a Daniel Cormier or a Michael Bisping that have been in the UFC for a long time, that have fought in the UFC numerous times. Some have defended their titles. Some are Hall of Famers. Like that. She's not on the level of like a Bisping or a DC that are like Hall of Fame level fighters. Like, yeah, she doesn't have that. At the end of the day, I believe when I listen to her commentary, You can tell she knows what she's talking about. Like, she knows what she's talking about. The problem is the delivery isn't exactly, it's not perfect. It leaves like a little bit of like an annoyance. And I'm not trying to say this to like put her down. Like, I can understand why people don't like Laura Sanko's commentary. Like, there's a little bit different ring to it when you get like a woman's voice after like a big punch going, whoa, than like a DC going, you know, going crazy, like next to Rogan or something. Like, it's just a little bit of different ring. Like, sometimes it's a little bit of an annoyance to that voice from Laura Sanko. But at the end of the day, I think she knows what she's talking about. Let's just read some of these comments. So this guy, Jamie Varner's going in on her. I talk about how she hasn't fought before in the UFC. She says, you're high if you think she knows anything. She's the worst I've ever heard in my life. Holly Holm should have that job. Okay. This dude replies, she actually has a fight. She has fought before and is a female fighter. He says, not UFC. Of course not. She's never been in the UFC. Disagree. This guy, Tim, says he disagrees. I really enjoy her commentary. She hasn't fought, but does train and has decent knowledge. She calls quite a few things before they happen. I think she knows what she's talking about. Jamie Varner responds, you must not know anything technically about fighting then. Now, maybe this is where I fall apart because I'm not a fighter and I'm obviously not UFC level. So maybe I don't see it the way that a UFC fighter would see it. Like, maybe I am wrong. But it seems to me like she knows what she's talking about. It's just the delivery. The delivery just ain't right. Like, the screaming. There was one moment, and this sounds terrible. There was one moment when Brendan Fitzgerald was reading this promotion, this like ad promotion, and he was trying to get it said really fast because there was some action going on in the fight. And right after he got done with it, Laura Sanko goes, faster, Brendan, faster. I'm just like, whoa, this can't be right, man. That just doesn't sound right. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody tell me in the chat, like, some of it just doesn't sound right, you know? Like, just coming from a female. I'm sorry. It just doesn't sound right. Please let me know if I'm out of pocket or not. But hearing her go, faster, Brendan, faster. I was just like, that doesn't sound right. And it does sound like sometimes she's trying a little bit too hard. But I can't blame her. Like, she's a woman in the space. She's trying to prove herself. And it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, I don't have a problem with her doing like an Apex card or anything. Like, it is what it is. I think she did the. Oh shit, that's right. Yo, she did UFC 293, Strickland versus Adesanya, and I remember there was some backlash on her doing that one because it's a pay-per-view, and it was kind of a card that they were like, yeah, it's a pay-per-view, but we're throwing Sean Strickland into this fight. Probably shouldn't even be in there against Adesanya. And then Strickland pulls off the upset. And you get Laura Sanko on the mic, and she's going, Sean Strickland! Oh, Sean Strickland! And it's like, it doesn't ring. It just doesn't ring the same way as like a Rogan like saying it or something. It just sounds weird. Just sounds weird. I will give her props. I know she probably works very hard. She's had a long path to get to the point where she is, and you got to give her props. And I need to make this this comment about it though too. Like, she's going to get criticism. Of course, she's going to get criticism for her commentary, just like everybody else does. People always shit on DC for being biased. People shit on Bisping for being a loudmouth or being biased. They shit on Dominic Cruz for all the times that he goes at Keith Peterson Like, every single commentator gets shit on. That's just part of the job. And at the end of the day, I think they're all very good. I think they're all pretty solid. Now, my only complaint is, like, when you get a Joe Rogan in there and you're saying, like, the same things every time that you're on a pay-per-view. Joe Rogan's good. Everybody loves Joe Rogan. But sometimes when his commentary on the pay-per-views is like, all right, we've talked about the same thing almost every time. Loves a calf kick. He loves a calf kick. Now, if Laura Sanko starts talking about calf kicks and what they've done to the game, then we're going to have some problems. At least she brings something different, you know? At least there's that. At least there's that. Believe You Me podcast, Bisping is the man. I do love his YouTube channel is pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, enough of Laura Sanko. We're almost 46 minutes in. We'll go for about 5-10 more minutes. Last thing we got to talk about is Ian Garry's wife response. I don't know if it was aimed at Colby Covington or not. But Ian Garry, we talked about this last week. Ian Garry's response to Colby with the I Quit match. Colby responds, again, talking about you can't do an I Quit match because no commission would allow that, no time limit, da-da-da. Makes sense. Colby's being logical. Very interesting there. And then he just doubled down on his stipulations. And after that, we haven't heard from Ian Garry, but we did hear from Ian Garry's wife, Layla. In a 4.5-5 minute rant, she was yapping for a lot. She was yapping for a while, man. And regardless of what she said in there, and I watched it, but it was kind of hard to watch. Like 4.5 minutes of her just yapping and kind of just regurgitating a lot of things she's already said, going over stuff that are rumors, and probably most of it is, you know, true what she's saying. But why is Ian Garry's wife like out there responding to everything? Like what if I'm a man and I'm in this beef with Colby Covington? I don't want my wife. I don't know if they planned it together or not, but I don't want my wife going out there and like trying to defend me. Like, no, I'd want to defend myself. I'd probably want to take this in my own hands and go at it with Colby myself and not send my wife out there to like do the dirty work. I don't understand it. Like what is their point? What point are they trying to get across? That they're like two people to be messed with? Like, obviously Ian Garry's probably not that hard to mess with at this point, and Layla's not that hard to mess with either. So it doesn't really matter who you're trying to put out there as the face of attack, you know? Guaranteed Garry don't show up to the press conference versus Colby. Well, I hope they schedule it for one. And two, if he doesn't show up, that would just be like career suicide at that point. Like, good Lord. Like, if you take a fight against Colby and then don't show up at the press conference, you're just pointing out. You're scared to go up there on stage with him. You'll bet me a year's salary. I would probably take that bet, because if he doesn't show up, like he's in a bad spot if he doesn't show up to a press conference, if that's the case. But in all reality, I don't even know if Ian Garry's going to take that fight. I mean, I know he wants that fight, and I don't know if Colby would take it either. The interesting part is that they didn't offer, but they talked about Ian Garry versus MVP, and Ian Garry was not interested at all. I mean, that's probably a tough fight for both guys. An interesting matchup. But Ian Garry's like, no, I don't want it. So I guess that means he really wants the Colby fight. The question is, will Colby take the fight? Because he's fighting down in the rankings, giving Ian Garry a chance. But it is an opportunity for Colby to regain some fans, because Colby's in a spot where he was losing all the fans. Ian Garry probably lost a lot of fans too, but he's got a lot of enemies. If you can get all the enemies on the Ian Garry side, Colby's going to have some new fans on his side, for sure. For sure. Colby would wreck Ian Garry. He broke his foot. He'll bounce back. It's fair. It's fair. I mean, he's definitely got the path to the wrestling. And if he could do that, he's going to be looking pretty good. MVP smokes Garry. I would love to see it. I would actually love to see that fight. Because MVP versus Ian Garry would be two different types of strikers. MVP not declined, but he kind of dismissed the Wonder Boy fight because they're two very similar fighters, and it probably wouldn't be a lot of action. Ian Garry's a lot different than a Wonder Boy. Would be a good fight. And MVP would definitely have his moments because he's so explosive, so hard to get a read on at all times. That it would be a tough puzzle for Ian Garry to figure out. But I wouldn't doubt him. Ian Garry's a great fighter. Very solid fighter. Oh, God. Will the Gambler, are you really asking me about Trevor Peek or Charlie Campbell? This is where we're at? You're asking me about Trevor Peek versus Charlie Campbell. I'd probably say Charlie Campbell at this point. I'd have to see what the line is, but Charlie Campbell's a little bit more clean with the striking. Trevor Peek's a dog, though. He's a dog, though. Take a punch, and if he could break Charlie Campbell, which is possible, he could definitely get a win. All right, boys. We can probably end the show here. I'll leave the comments open for anything else we want to talk about here. But we covered the entire UFC card, talked about Laura Sanko's commentary, gave the opinions on it. Don't think she's bad. The delivery is just not great. And we talked about Ian Garry's wife talking for him. Other than that, I mean, pretty slow week for MMA in general. I mean, we got UFC Atlantic City coming up this Saturday. Finally not an Apex card. Finally get a live crowd. I wonder how much those tickets were. Because the ticket prices for UFC events nowadays are utterly insane. Like, they're terrible. And we know that the UFC doing events at the Apex just limits the amount of live events they have, so they could jack up the prices. People want to go to these events, and they'll get them once or twice a month. They're like, shit, I guess I got to fork out the $600 for these nosebleed seats because I'm not going to get any other opportunity. $350 front row ticket on second level. $350. That's not terrible. I mean, it's not a pay-per-view, of course. It's a fight night. That's not terrible. But like, pay-per-views are just unbelievable nowadays. I would imagine UFC 300 is just insane for prices right there. All right. See if we got any comments. Hardest matchup for Leon. We'll end this one here. Hardest matchup for Leon, I would say Shavkat, because he can hang with them in the striking. He's tough. He's durable. He's undefeated. He's very dangerous. All wins by finish. Hardest matchup for Leon Edwards is Shavkat Rakhmonov. Can grapple him. Can strike with him. He's durable. He's dangerous. It's a tough fight for Leon Edwards. Monday service for you. Shout out to you if you're tuning in and it's Monday wherever you're at, because it's Sunday here in Florida. And yeah, this is Sunday service. Last one from Dick's Insider. Does Tatsuro Taira submit Tim Elliott? I could see it, but I could also see Tim Elliott just making that fight dirty. It's just what he does. He just makes a fight dirty, but he is older and doesn't have any great wins recently. And Tatsuro Taira is a legit prospect. Shout out to New Zealand. Smeezy does it on IG. Appreciate you for joining. Sugar Sean O'Malley, the GOAT. He's the champ right now. He is the champ right now. Shout out to y'all. We're going to end it there. But this is Sunday Service episode 4. We're here every Sunday, recapping the card, talking all the MMA, here with you guys here live at the studio, the Home of Fight studio here in Florida, here on the Home of Fight YouTube, and we run it on the IG as well. Of course, we got to give you guys all the options. But I appreciate y'all for joining. We'll be back here next Sunday for the Sunday service, recapping the UFC Atlantic card, and maybe we have some more interesting stuff to talk about other than Laura Sanko's commentary. I don't know if she's going to be on the commentary team this Saturday. I would guess not. She's usually an Apex girl. But, yeah, next Sunday, tune into the Sunday service here on the Home of Fight YouTube channel. At HeyJai Picks on medias for me. And don't forget, join the Home of Fight Picks Discord. Or just join the Home of Fight Discord in general. We're chopping it up, talking about fights every single day in there. It's free to join. The picks is paid, but you can join the Home of Fight Discord and just join to be part of the team. Appreciate y'all. Till next week, Sunday service, we out.